As we near the end of 2025, I find myself looking to reflect on all of the media that I've consumed during the year. Typically, around this time, I am scrambling to film and edit a video about all of my favorite video games that I got to play this year. And while I would love to do that, I did not play that many video games this year. According to my Steam replay, I played Dead by Daylight 72 times this year, and the only game that came in second place to that was Elden Ring at 16 sessions this year, which is quite the disparity. I did play some games at the beginning of the year which I really enjoyed, like Stasis Bone Totem, Blood Typers, Everhood 2, Pacific Drive, and a handful of really good demos. But I don't think I played enough variety to be able to recap a full year. But you know what I did do a lot of this year? I watched a lot of wrestling. In July of this year, I started up a Patreon where members could suggest matches and I would react to them. It has been a blast and it has opened up a world outside of just WWE or AEW. There's so much more that I've been exposed to. And it has given me new favorite matches, new favorite wrestlers, just a whole bigger appreciation for the art of it all. So instead of wrapping up the year by telling you just how many times I wanted to throw my keyboard while playing Dead by Daylight, I figured we could talk about wrestling one more time. So this is my wrestling wrapped, if you will. Now, I am not a gal who has a great attention to detail, so if you're part of my Patreon and you hear some of these statistics and you're like, that's wrong, just give me a break. But before I go into some of my favorite matches and some matches I would never watch again, here's some fun statistics for you. Since starting in July and as of filming this video, I have watched 63 matches or docuseries videos that have been suggested to me. In total, I've watched about 24.6 hours worth of wrestling, and that is not including regular WWE content or PLEs or anything I've watched. This is strictly member suggested content. The oldest match that I watched was Gorgeous George and Larry Mokin, which I believe was 1953. I have ranked entrance music from both WWE and AEW. I have watched a full-length movie, which was an experience to say the least.
I don't have a phone.
And I have attempted to paint my face like Rhea Ripley from Night of Champions just once.
Like, in the dark, it's not that bad. Like, okay, if you just if you don't look that hard and you're kind of in the dark, it could be worse.
I have been really enjoying the variety of matches that people have sent me because it's so fun to see that like one person's favorite match can be just this really obscure, something I had never considered, right? Like wrestling is just so vast, and to get so many people and their different perspectives has been so nice. And I have a handful of matches that I've picked out of the ones that I've watched that have stood out for a variety of reasons. Some of them are really technically impressive. Some of them just have a really cool backstory. Some of them have wrestlers I've fallen in love with, or the match has really good pacing and it's just fun to watch. And I could probably talk at length about every single match that I've gotten to watch this year, but I picked these ones out because I just can't get them out of my head. I have narrowed it down to just 5, and I also have a couple of honorable mentions, if you will, or maybe dishonorable mentions. I'm not really sure what they are. So without further ado, here are my top 5 most memorable matches that I've gotten to react to this year. So this match was not my first experience with Japanese wrestling, but it was my first experience with Stardom and these two wrestlers. And ooh boy, what a match this was as an introduction. First things first, nothing is touching Saya's entrance. I don't care who you are, this goes so hard. The music, the gear, the absolute vibes this woman gives off. I was obsessed from the start with her. And then you get Tom with this magical, adorable, glittery pink entrance straight out of Sailor Moon. And seeing them face off in the ring together is like staring over the cliff of what might be the greatest hero-villain battle you've ever witnessed. Now, I watched this with Japanese commentary, so I didn't get the full backstory until afterward, but it was kind of set up like that. Apparently, this was a fan turning nemesis type story, or maybe the student turning teacher type thing. Saya is this rising star who idolizes Tom, the veteran, but Saya then grows frustrated living in Tom's shadow, and so this heel character with the badass entrance is born. It was the perfect antithesis to each other. The sparkly pink, the dark raveny black. It's an amazing combo. Despite the cutesiness of Tom's entrance though, these two are ruthless. Although I will say maybe not quite as ruthless as Tom's match with Julia, which I just watched recently, because those two Ooh, they were not holding back at all. And I highly recommend you give it a watch if you've never seen it before. Saya has this absolutely phenomenal in-ring presence and personality, and you can tell why she is the powerhouse she is now in the industry. I do have somebody else who has suggested their 2025 career versus career match, and I'm going to watch it. I'm super excited, and if it's anything like this match, I am going to love it. This match had some of the crunchiest video quality that I've seen, and it almost made it better, but we'll get to that. So this match came with 2 different articles with the backstory of this match, but I didn't read them ahead of time, so I could remain relatively spoiler-free. What I did know already was that this was the origin match between Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens, and El Generico, Sami Zayn, and so I was really excited to see kind of young versions of both of them facing off for the first time. And even though the video quality is crunchy, you can tell they are both phenomenal, clearly destined for stardom. They both have the technique down. Sami, that's the most top rope I've ever seen Sami. It was a really cool thing to see him in such a different vibe. And Kevin is already a master at shit talking. So the match itself is great, even though it's a little bit difficult to see what's going on with the video quality. The footage is shaky, there are people walking in front of the camera, and it looks and sounds like it's being recorded off of somebody's TV. So I finished watching this match, and I go to check out the original context that was provided in those 2 articles. The 2 articles are from JJ McGee, also known as Myth Gifts, who has painstakingly documented the careers and friendship of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. The article I'm referring to is called The Quest of the Holy Grail and How It Was Found, and details McGee's personal search for Sami and Kevin's very first match together. Despite years of wrestling documentation, that first match between these two at IWS had never been published anywhere. McGee looked for 6 years, eventually lamenting about the missing tape on Twitter in 2021, but it seemed like the footage was lost to the sands of time. And then, McGee gets a DM from none other than Kevin Owens himself. Kevin says that he had his dad search through all of his old tapes, and lo and behold, he found that one fateful match. Not only does Kevin have his dad mail that tape to him, but Kevin then buys a VCR on Facebook Marketplace and then records the match on his iPad for McGee. So the reason that the footage looks and sounds as if it's being recorded off of somebody's TV is because it is. It's Kevin Owens' TV. And you remember how I said it looked like people were walking in front of the camera during the match? I initially thought it was in the video itself, but it turns out it's actually Kevin Owens walking in front of his TV screen. Someone else commented that when I posted the video because I hadn't realized it in the moment, and I felt like I had had a Bigfoot sighting. So the match itself was great, but it's not what made it memorable for me. It was honestly the history and the realization that Kevin Owens went that far to help this person who was so enthusiastic about his career and Sami's career just preserve it. And I think that's so rad. I am here to admit my faults. Many moons ago, I did a WWE ranking video where I ranked different wrestlers, and I was still very green, and I hadn't been exposed to half as many people yet, and I had not seen like more than one match featuring AJ Styles, which I think was at WrestleMania, and then he was out for a long time, so I didn't have the context, and I mistakenly placed this man in B tier.
No! No!
I now stand before you humbly asking for your forgiveness for this transgression. Real talk, this match gave me all the context I needed to go from being kind of lukewarm on AJ to being a fan. I think this actually might have been my first TNA match that I got to react to, and even though that was all the way back in August, almost when I first started the Patreon, it is still one of my top matches to this day. All 3 of these guys put on a hell of a show. I was so impressed with just how fluid and easy they made the entire match look. They all brought a little bit of something different to the match, and they just made it work for them. I have since watched a couple of other AJ matches like AJ and Lokai at Zero One, AJ versus Cena Royal Rumble 2017. It is oops all bangers with this man. In fact, my favorite WWE match that happened this year was AJ versus John Cena at Crown Jewel, I think. It was really touching, it was well done, and even though I didn't have all of the context to get all of the callback spots that they were doing, I think it was a really great match in general. They clearly enjoy each other as people and as wrestlers, and that was hands down my favorite match this year. So yes, I am officially an AJ Styles girly, and this match was phenomenal. Picking my number 2 spot for this was so damn difficult because this era of wrestling has become my absolute favorite. There is something so pure about 90s era wrestling to me. I think the first match that I got to watch from this era that really captured that essence was Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon. It was the first ladder match, and I thought that was really cool. Shawn Michaels, I feel especially, was kind of part of this over-the-top fashion part of wrestling that I've come to love out of guys like Seth Rollins, which is not to say the fashion hasn't been a part of it. Gorgeous George is a guy, you know? I feel like that was already a part of it back then. There is just something so special about this era of wrestling to me. It's how into it the crowd is, seeing all of these kids. There were so many kids at every show, and it was like clearly this really great family affair, and everyone was just so enthusiastic. The crowd was electric, and that matters to someone like me who's kind of trying to enjoy it from the past. And I don't know, there's just something, I'm a 90s kid, so I think I'm a little nostalgic for that era anyway, but it's just capturing something different in this particular time period. So picking this one was tough, but I had to go with Bret Hart versus the British Bulldog from SummerSlam 1992. I have very quickly become a Bret Hart fan in the last few months. Like, if you ask me who my top 5 favorite wrestlers are, he would be on that list. I could go either way on British Bulldog. Davey Boy, he wasn't as compelling to me, but I knew I had to include a Bret Hart match, and I've only watched a couple at this point, and I thought this one was really good. I was also given the context prior. I often will ask members, hey, can you give me some context? Why is this your favorite match? What do you like about it? And I was given the context that Davey Boy was on a bit of a drug habit at that time, cocaine and perhaps pills, and had been worried that he was going to mess up all of the spots that he and Bret had. And so I was expecting this match to be a mess. I was expecting it to be very obvious that that was a worry, but it was really good. The match was great. The crowd was electric because I believe they were in England, where Davey is from, and the ending was really pleasantly unexpected too. I thought they did a phenomenal job there. Yeah, so this was just an all-around great match, and it made me love Bret Hart even more. Okay, I've heard this match is a little bit divisive, and I am fully prepared to hear the basic wrestling fan allegations, okay? I am aware. I'm not beating them. I am a casual. But my number one match that I've gotten to react to this year that was the most memorable is Will Ospreay versus Ricochet, New Japan Pro Wrestling 2016. Call it too choreographed, too flashy, whatever. I think this match was a great display of athleticism from both of these men. And I've watched some of these more gymnast-heavy matches. Specifically, I'm thinking of Kalani Jordan and Sol Ruca, NXT Heatwave, and I get the argument that it's too much. But I feel like the Ricochet and Ospreay match was a healthy dose of everything. It was well-paced, and it wasn't entirely gymnastics, but you can tell these two are a match made in heaven. It was just pure fun to watch. And I feel like it's a very newbie accessible match. Like, if I had to show somebody who was sort of on the fence about getting into wrestling, but they didn't get it, I would show them this one because it feels like it eases you in a bit to the theatrics of it all. There is a self-awareness of the more choreographed portions of this match, but it's also highlighting the story and the rivalry, and you can clearly see there's build-up between the two. It feels like watching two Spider-Mans fight. Do I think this is the epitome of wrestling? No. But do I think it's super entertaining to watch? Absolutely. And I think that identifying wrestling as entertainment for people who are new is sort of the biggest hurdle to get over. So I think this one kind of meets you halfway. Anyway, I could watch this match a dozen times and still not be bored. So those were my top 5 favorite matches from my Wrestling Wrapped, but I do have a couple of honorable mentions. Winner of the most brutal match that I will not be watching again, Hangman Adam Page versus Swerve Strickland 2024 Lights Out Steel Cage match. Turns out these brutal death matches are not for me. If I never see someone get a needle shoved through their lip in a match, it will still be too soon. Wildest indie match is Crazy Crusher versus Hellstorm EWR 2004 ladder match. You have not seen a true indie ladder match until you've seen this one. There is some really unique ladderage going on, and these two go at it with no fear. For my favorite match I couldn't see, Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan. I truly thought about putting this one in my top 5 for the year, but it felt like cheating. But this is the part of wrestling that I love so much and proves that the crowd is so integral to the whole thing. Also, shout outs to the referee Bryce Remsburg. He made that match what it was. Favorite match featuring a large pile of dirt. Surprisingly, there were several contenders for this. We humans just really love fighting on top of a good old pile of dirt. But I think the winner has to be the Broken Hardy match, although it is a toss-up between this and the Kenny Omega is the champion of anywhere match. And finally, the winner of favorite match taking place in a Golden Corral parking lot. This one was tough, but it does have to be Heidenreich versus Doink. in a Golden Corral parking lot. Out of all of the matches I've seen in a Golden Corral parking lot, this one is the best. So that was my Wrestling Wrapped for 2025. Thanks so much for watching, and a big thank you to all of my members over on Patreon for expanding my wrestling palette. If you want to join in over on the fun, I upload every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. I do reactions, we watch docuseries, and I also do an exclusive monthly video. That is it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye!